Read it in the Sunday papers. Sunday papers. Read all about it. Read all about it. Read all about it with Greg and Mike.
It's the Sunday papers, people. What do you think of our new theme song?
I think we should be running around a fountain with on an NBC sitcom.
Well,
By the way,
I
wait. First of all, I love it. I love that guy went through all that work and thank
David
you.
Chamberlain. David Chamberlain.
That's so cool of these listeners to do this stuff.
We got about a dozen songs and all good. I was shocked. I thought it was going to be like,
Yeah.
a couple people like, clapping their hands together while their wife strums a banjo with her big toe. But no, we got a bunch of good ones. We're gonna roll them out. We're gonna play them every episode. Here's what's different about our show is we don't get stuck in with one logo, one theme song, one sign off at the end. We let you guys get involved. So keep sending in the theme songs. We love them. And shout outs to Emmett Hall and Jim Tripp, Matt Farley, a bunch of other people sent them in. We're going to keep playing them. And also your logos. Keep those coming in. If you notice, today's logo is very cute. It's got the SpaceX launch, which we'll talk about later.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Somebody put us in a couple.
I had never heard that song, and I don't even know what logo you're talking about.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I'm like you, listeners. And what's great is we were able to start this podcast with such positive energy on a slightly busy news week.
What's been going on? I was out of town.
Not much, just the virus still. That's it. You didn't miss anything.
It is hard to sort of like launch into a comedy podcast about the news when you have spent, the last 4 days staring at the TV and wondering like how to access not just what you're feeling, but what other communities in our country are feeling without. It's very difficult. I had a woman on Fitzdog Radio this week named Dulce Sloan, who's African American, and she's a correspondent on The Daily Show, and she does some political stuff. And I didn't talk about it until I recorded it yesterday, and I didn't talk about it until the very end. And then I brought it up, and man, she had a lot to say. And I did not, I really didn't feel at that time that it was my place to start saying how I felt about it or my opinions. And instead, I think it's a time to maybe listen, not, and listen and learn and share with other other white people. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Well, I wish more white people had your view, because there's just no way we can fully comprehend it, And listen, of course we have things to say and they're valid, and a lot of white people's, what they would say would be valid. But I think one thing that struck me is, so I was here on Friday. Friday was when so much of this news was coming in. Not only did they released the report, which had the autopsy, which almost said he died of the coronavirus.
Yeah, right.
It was like they didn't lead, I know it's very technical, and it's not like journalism where the guy's supposed to be like, of course he died because of it, but it just said they found no trauma to his neck, and he had a lot of contributing factors like heart disease and stuff like, and it's just is like, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't release that raw report. They should maybe, like put it in a way that will be, I don't know, that would recognize what happened to him as the lead story in the autopsy.
Yeah,
so
don't lead with the spin. Don't lead with the spin.
Yeah, it was really weird. And anyway, so the autopsy came in, and then the 3rd-degree charges came in. And I'm in my apartment here, and I'm outraged. And I'm really feeling, actually, in that moment, very passionate, and also, are you guys going to fuck this up at every stage? Honestly, at every stage? And then the president tweets an inflammatory thing. It's like, it kept getting worse and worse. And meanwhile, I'm feeling all this rage while I am literally unwrapping a surfboard.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
I have to I have to keep an eye on my own context and what's going on. Like, anyway, I just thought that made me laugh at the time, which doesn't mean I can't be angry and doesn't mean I can't have that
No,
reaction.
I was sitting on my couch with my wife, and we were sharing a bag of pistachio nuts, like we were watching the fucking, Sunday night Disney movie. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, like a reality show. Like, ooh, what's going to happen next? This is like a
That's what it
crazy
feels
reality
like.
show.
It's a reality show, and where you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't really know how to feel about it, because it is obviously you have a very visceral reaction to seeing people destroy their own city, and it certainly leaves those people open to being accused of just being out of control.
Yeah.
Of doing it selfishly to steal things from Target. And you just got to realize, like, once again, the media is going to cover it in a certain way because they're trying to get ratings. There's a lot of people that are marching peacefully. I haven't seen enough of that shown. There's also a lot of rumors, and this is put out, this isn't like unfounded rumors. There's the mayor of, or the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, has suggested that there is a fair amount of domestic terrorists that are inciting this, that are breaking windows. There was a very mysterious video of a guy, a white
the
guy,
umbrella man. Yeah.
dressed in all black, face completely covered, black military boots with a black umbrella, systematically smashing windows. And
Of that
people are
AutoZone,
accusing
I
him
think.
of being a police officer. And they asked him, "Are you an off-duty cop?" And I'm not saying he was. I'm just saying this is rife for this type of activity.
Well, there's always in these cases, apparently, these agent provocateurs. They're these organized, they like raise the level of anarchy. And that,
Anarchists.
yeah, but I mean, what are they calling him now? Well, like, for instance, the governor's exact quote kind of was, he said he was aware of unconfirmed reports that gangs of white supremacists are taking advantage of the anarchy unfolding in Minneapolis to create more chaos. So that's white supremacists, but there's also people who could be on the extreme left as well, who are sort of, agitators. They're called professional agitators. And by professional, it means they're organized. So when you saw that guy's getup, first of all, he's white, and he is systematically, as you said, smashing every window. And protesters were even like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And it was on film. Like, they were like, "Wait, what are you doing?"
Right.
And then on camera, you could hear someone go, "Are you a cop?" And
Yeah.
it's really, really interesting to me. And and there's a lot of speculation why the Atlanta protest was pretty civil and organized and kind of like respectful. And then all of a sudden there were calls to go to CNN, and then CNN is being destroyed. And again, listen, no matter what you're thinking about what I'm saying right now, this is a fact. A fact is, I couldn't believe how many white people I was watching destroy shit.
Right.
And in my estimation, it was more than black people. It just
seemed
was.
like it at the CNN, and we were texting with two of our friends who work at CNN, or Turner. Dudley wasn't in that building, was he?
No, but he was immediately told when the first thing they attacked was the sign.
Yeah.
And it just is very suspicious to me and others. I really can't wait till the dust settles a little and they see if there was an organized effort. Like, why bring it to CNN, especially when CNN is not only airing it, which is very important, but also they're actually, and they may have went too far with their compliments or their praise of these noble protests. So, like, why would you be shutting down that outlet? Historically, the media have always helped in civil rights. I mean, if you didn't have that footage of German shepherds on guys and the fire hoses, like, that really, really helped. And trust me, the government did not want that footage being shot or released.
Right.
So it makes no sense to me.
you know, a tough week for Derek Chauvin, the guy who killed him. His wife, Kelly, is divorcing him.
Don't make me feel sorry for this guy.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Why? Of course you're going to divorce this guy. It's like, at a certain point, you got to just go like, this guy is pure fucking evil. And I guess she doesn't have to get a restraining order because he's probably going to be restrained for the next. What are they saying? Like, third-degree murder should be about 35 years for this guy.
I wonder if she announced it quick, because I wonder. But he was already fired and his pay suspended, because that counts when you divorce someone.
Yeah.
Like, how much were they making at the time? Oh, 0? All right.
Yeah. And he's well, this doesn't include the 20. He'll last about 20 minutes in prison. Let's not kid ourselves. This guy is not going to survive.
Do they put cops in the general population?
No, they'll put him somewhere else, but they'll get to him. I think they'll get to him.
All right, wait, a couple of things though. I do disagree with you about her. I think it's kind of lame that she divorced him this week. Like, when? Today or yesterday?
Yeah.
And she put out a statement, and she's really trying to distance herself from us. And it's like, you know, from what I read about this guy, you knowingly stayed married and were married to a guy who hadn't really been caught yet, but was famously in a lot of accounts. Now, I don't know how long they've been married and how many of his past sort of missteps happened under their marriage, in the time when they were married. But I don't know. I see it as a little, I see it as a little lame, quite honestly, and distracting.
Yeah.
And the statements seem to make it about her. I don't know. I don't like the timing of it. You can divorce him in 2 weeks. Let our focus just be on this guy, and that third-degree charge has to change. Hey, about the third-degree charge.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, and I retweeted it, but an architect wrote when that charge got announced. He goes, I'm an architect. And he goes, and if I draw plans that aren't to code for a specific, some building, and then years later, even 20 years later, someone gets hurt or someone is killed by something that is even loosely related to, like, the stairwell or whatever it is that I signed off on, I can be charged with third-degree murder. Like, that's how distant and unintentional and uninvolved you can be with a third-degree murder charge.
Right.
And that's what this guy's being charged with.
Not only that, but how about the other, was there 2 or 3 other cops that were right there who have not been charged with anything?
Ridiculous.
I mean, there's got to be accountability for hearing a guy say, I can't breathe. And this wasn't over the course of a minute or two. This was 8 or 9 minutes.
Oh, no, it was very close to 9 minutes. And by the way, someone else had said, when they were reading the autopsy and trying to analyze it, they're like, don't forget, this other expert was like, he had the 3 of the guys weren't just telling the guy no, but they were actively holding him down as well at various times.
Yeah.
And when you are holding someone down and actively holding them and on top of them when they're on their stomach, that already endangers breathing.
You're right. It's not a legal position for cops to hold somebody in.
Right. I don't know about that, but
yeah, no, I mean, certainly you're not allowed to put your knee on somebody's neck. I mean, I think in the heat of putting somebody down, I think maybe you can do that for 15 seconds. But anyway, I don't know how long we should stay on this, but I think we needed to acknowledge it and sort of say that we don't know. We don't know. We can't tell you how to feel about it or what to expect. But this is my personal reaction to it.
Well, I will say keep it all right. So we did the Sunday papers last week. Came out, whatever, sometime Sunday. You guys might have been listening to him Monday. Monday was when this happened. It was also when that woman in Central Park threatened, racially threatened the guy.
Right.
Calling 911 because she was walking her dog off a leash. And Christian Cooper was the black guy who was filming her, and she threatened him. So it's been a crazy week in the area of race. But like, boy, is she grateful to Minnesota.
Yeah, right, right.
I mean, because going into Tuesday, that was a bigger story for me than this police brutality, because I didn't fully understand the police brutality in Minnesota. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, right.
But my friend, it was funny. Do you know about? So you know, it seems like an old story now. But Christian Cooper, do you know much about that story?
Is this the Central Park thing?
Yeah, the Central
Yeah,
Park
yeah,
thing.
yeah. The guy he's a gay Harvard graduate that was bird watching, and
Well, I
couldn't
didn't
be
even
more
know
polite,
gay. He's gay also.
as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
No, yeah, I think so. He's a bird watcher.
well, my friend, and I think you know him, he's a commentator, Dickie Egan. He goes, we were texting about it, and he's like, it's as if they had an experiment to see how like threatened white people can be by a black guy, by like, let's make him the whitest black guy ever.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, he's a Harvard graduate. So anyway, he's all that. And yeah, Dickie was like, what if he was a microbrewery owner? Nope. How about
Yeah.
folk singer? Nope, not white
Yeah.
enough.
Right, right.
And then I honestly tried to think of it, and I wrote him back. I'm like, I've honestly given it a shot at coming up with something that's whiter than a Harvard graduate and prominent, these are quotes, prominent bird watcher in Central Park who's a board member of the Audubon Society. And the closest I came to something whiter was slave owner.
Whoa.
What's
Mike
whoa?
Gibbons goes
Shut
deep
up.
on Sunday papers
Oh, my
early on.
Honestly, that's the only whiter profession and sort of profile than this guy.
I really should look up whether or not this guy's gay. What's his name?
Christian Cooper.
Christian Cooper gay. Let's see.
Does gay make you white? No, I'm going to put you in a corner. Does it make you any less threatening? Maybe he was a savage gay guy.
Christian Cooper's history of black gay activism before.
What's that?
Wait, I think he had a girlfriend. No. She had a boyfriend when she lived in London. And
if he's a gay activist and he's not gay, it's unbelievable. This guy has the most flawless record I've ever.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable human being.
Such an unbelievable human being that I want to have sex with him. And that's
Maybe
how
that's
gay
where
he
this
is.
gay. That's where this gay thing's coming
Yeah,
from.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something else from the front page. Oh, we forgot our newspaper set. You got your newspaper?
Oh, of course.
Oh, there we go.
It is.
All right, let's go to the Ozarks, Mike. Missouri, baby. You remember those videos from last week where all those numbnuts were crowded into pools and boats and lakes? Well, apparently one of the crowded pools, which had hundreds of people in it, contained a guy that has the coronavirus. And now they are trying to track everybody he was in contact with, besides the body of liquid that they were all standing in. They're trying to figure out, like, who was connected to him.
Oh, they got his schedule. Did you see it each day?
No.
Oh, they got his itinerary. It was like party in the pool, party in the lodge.
Oh, no shit. Really?
Oh, yeah. They printed it both days, 2 full days.
Oh, it's like, dude, I just stand next to him. Dude, do I have a burn on my shoulder? I feel a little burn on my shoulders. Little in the left lung, too. I got just a bunch of, I mean, first of all, where would you rather be less than standing in a crowded pool in the Ozarks with a bunch of rednecks talking about, who fingered their cousin last night?
Is that what it is? Oh my God, you're a lot of generalizations today.
I have HBO. I watched Ozarks.
Yeah, no, those regardless of the virus, I would have never wanted to be in that situation.
Yeah. Jesus.
It looked like a cesspool.
That's like a weird thing now that I was not a part of, is these big pool parties. Like in Vegas, they have these football field pools that are only like 3 feet deep so you can stand in them. And hundreds of people drinking, shit-faced. What percentage of those people are urinating in the water? Roughly.
Oh, please, of course. You kidding me? It's like a swim up blackjack tables. Remember our friend? He was like, he's like, gotta hydrate, otherwise your pee's yellow. He doesn't want to leave the table.
Well, he used to when they were shuffling the deck, when they had to change up the chute, he would swim a lap. He'd swim a lap.
Oh, good for him. A P
Yeah.
lap? Oh, you mean a P lap?
A P lap.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
And he'd come back and sit down again.
That's respectful of the table, I guess.
Yeah, you got to respect the table. Here's another thing in the front page is that Corona, obviously you worry about coughing and sneezing and surfaces, but shit, human feces, big spreader. And they're saying that they found in the stools of a 78-year-old severely sick COVID-19 patient, they found some Corona, which first of all, is not going to be the worst thing you find in the stools of an 80-year-old guy. There's going to be some half-chewed Viagra, a couple prunes.
Oh my God.
Corona's an afterthought.
That's true. Well, I knew about that potential for it to be in feces because when it rained here in LA, for those who don't know how it works here in LA, when it rains, you can't go in the ocean for 2 days, something like that. And like our daughters surf and their practices are canceled and all that stuff. So, and you can't because LA, when it rains, the LA basin is too big. There are no filtration systems for the water in the streets that go into the sewers.
In other words, in a city that's a desert that has water shortages, we don't collect the rain that falls. We pour it out into the ocean.
And whatever. I'm a volunteer for one of the. It's called Heal the Bay. But when there you go. It's me. It's all about me. So when they on the beach though, they'll be like the beach cleanups. You'd have so many cigarettes, and they're like, now you're probably thinking, are this many people still smoking on the beach? No. If a cigarette is flicked out a car window in Pasadena, that's how it gets on the beach because it comes through the whole system right out. So anyway, back to our point, that happens with shit too. If there's any shit in the street, including the enormous amounts of human shit because of the homeless epidemic, that gets swept right out into the ocean.
Yep.
So that was an added thing that was to the normal bacteria that can get you sick from human feces. Now there's coronavirus in the ocean.
And also they're saying like just do not take a dump in a public restroom, which I know I always look forward to.
Why do they say that?
Because people spray shit. There's some spray. There's shit on a toilet seat. You sat on a fucking toilet. You ever sit in a public toilet and it's still warm? And the bowl's still warm. That's the worst. And some homeless guy was sitting there taking a fucking sponge bath about 5 minutes earlier.
Oh my God. All right.
Did you used to crouch when you were a kid over the bowl?
You mean hover?
I used to hover.
I would. I know my whole time working in CBS, which was with all these, pretty clean people, like in CBS studios on Fairfax and Beverly.
Sure, Kevin James, Ray Romano.
Yeah, but I figured if everyone else uses the seat, the paper seat covers, then I don't have to.
Yeah.
Both ways. In other words, I'm protected from them, and then they'll never. But what happened is I would feel pressure. If someone was in the bathroom when I went into the stall, I would then rattle the paper with my hand to make noise as if I was taking it out and putting it down, but I wasn't.
Really?
I didn't really care what touched my ass, especially in a very, very clean bathroom, which is cleaned like 3 times a day there or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would always pretend to put on a condom when I had sex with a girl.
Well, that's illegal. Do you know that?
Is it?
That is a crime. And it's yeah, guys, a lot of guys do that, by the way.
I say having sex with a condom on is a crime.
All right. So you're just trying to outdo my slave owner atrocity earlier. No, but girls hover, and girls are disgusting. That's why famously girls' bathrooms are so much worse. But it's like girls hover like and aren't even close to getting it in the bowl. I don't know what goes on there.
Yeah, no,
it's unbelievable. Looks like a sprinkler went off.
Yeah. Well, also, we have a nice we got a pistol. We got a long-barreled pistol. Well, mine's long-barreled, and it shoots exactly where you want it to go. A pussy is just like it's like a chasm. It's It just shoots everywhere. It's disgusting. It's only
Maybe
good for
we
one thing.
Should we go back to talking about racial injustice? Because this seems more offensive.
No, when I was out in the Hamptons, when I lived in the Hamptons, I think a different summer than you did. I was a busboy at an outdoor bar. It was this place called Summers on Dune Road.
Of course. Yeah, it's legendary.
Legendary.
It was like you put all of Florida in there.
No, it was like you put all of Brooklyn in there.
Well,
It was all Guidos. It was all like dudes, like ripped dudes and chicks with big hair and little bikinis. And it had 13 bartenders would be pouring at the same time. And most of them were outside. Some of them were inside. A DJ. It was literally on the sand. And I used to have to go in and clean the bathrooms. And you're right. The women's bathroom was way worse. It would always be clogged with tampons. There'd be shit. Like, it was the worst experience of my life was cleaning those goddamn bathrooms.
They're pigs. They're pigs.
Yeah, women are pigs.
I live with my two daughters' bathroom is a disaster.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, by the way, I'm jumping back to the story just for a second. Did you see the report today? By the way, I figured out while I was thinking about it why he's getting divorced now. She is astutely divorcing because there is going to be a civil lawsuit, and they have multiple homes, and they're going to lose them.
Oh yeah.
And she's not going to lose them now because her date of filing is before those lawsuits. Now, I think it could be argued she's doing it to protect them. And I don't think that holds water usually. In other words, he already had committed the crime. So I don't know what it will be. But get this, and it may not be true, but I read today, he is a Florida resident, the cop who kneed on his neck.
Is that right?
They have a house in Florida. Florida doesn't pay income tax. And so he is claiming, I believe, that he is a Florida resident while he's on the Minneapolis police force. Now, I could be wrong, but what I did read is they have a house in Florida and a house in Minnesota. And I did read a lot of people saying that for sure he's a Florida resident. So I don't know what the facts are, though. But right, Florida man, back to your Florida man.
Florida man is it's the greatest account on Twitter. Florida
man kills black man in Minneapolis.
Yep.
That's a new one.
Right. All right, let's go to entertainment, Mike.
Oh, am I in entertainment? Okay,
oh, you're with the newspaper. You're with the crinkling of the newspaper. There we go.
All right. It's virtual. Yeah. All right, do you have a story? Because I have a great one.
Why don't you do it?
Well, it's Madonna. Madonna, hey, do we have a website yet? We could put up the video. But
we almost have a website. We'll have it very soon.
So Madonna, who's super in touch with, her fingers really on the pulse and really doesn't recognize any disconnect she has with the real world. So it started, remember, with the coronavirus when she told the world that the coronavirus is the great equalizer. And where did she do that from? Her luxurious bath, which had rose petals all around her. And yeah, so it's the great equalizer. Now, after this killing in Minneapolis, she wrote on Twitter, "Brutal murder travels around the world. My son David dances to honor and pay tribute to George and his family and all acts of racism and discrimination that happen on a daily basis in America. Hashtag David Banda, hashtag Justice for George Floyd, hashtag Michael Jackson." And then it is a video of her son incredibly awkwardly dancing to a Michael Jackson song, like Michael Jackson, in their beautiful kitchen. And
unbelievable.
It's so awkward to watch. And of course the reactions were fantastic. Like, wow, racism gone. Thank you, girl. And people some guy said, this is the worst tweet in history. And it really was bad. But my, of course, inappropriate joke was, this is the worst video, the most disturbing video I've seen of a black man this week. But
Did
of
you
course,
write that?
no, I couldn't post that.
Yeah.
I have to do it where it's trusted here on the podcast.
Yeah,
and you guys
exactly.
know I'm some bleeding heart liberal, and I
Yeah.
mean it, of course, as a complete joke.
Right.
But it really was almost as painful as watching that video in a funny way, not in a real way. It was terrible. So
Jesus.
yeah, go out and
She's
find. It's
insane.
still
What
on.
about when she lived in London for 6 months and all of a sudden came back with a British accent?
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
You know what
Um,
was amazing? Did you read the Beastie Boys biography?
Yeah, well, I kind of scanned through it, and then I saw the documentary based on it.
It was
I
pretty
mean, their
bad.
show.
It was pretty badass. They were like 18 years old and they were traveling the world doing stadiums with Madonna, opening
Yeah.
for Madonna.
Right.
I mean, and that's when they were just complete pussy hounds. All they were doing was partying, and then they kicked our friend Kate Shellen back out of the band.
They give her a lot of love, though, in the book and in
Yeah.
the show.
Right.
What other entertainment? I don't know. I was going to talk about Kylie Jenner. She was downgraded by Forbes magazine. She was downgraded from billionaire to multi-millionaire. Multi-hundredaire. I don't even know how you would describe it. But they originally named her one of the youngest. What is it? The youngest self-made billionaire in history, and that she's a woman, of course. But anyway, there's an argument about it. But anyway, it turns out she's worth only $900 million. So,
Wow.
that was a nice distraction. But it's like, at this point, I would be like, accept it. Like, billionaires are generally bad guys, like almost without exception.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you accept the downgrade?
Well, because it's a number, it's a goal for these people where if you had a choice between donating 10% of your money, which you will never notice missing, to 10 giant charities that get $10 million each that could change the course of their fucking work, and you hold on to it so that you can be on a list in a magazine.
And, she's trying to say, like, she's saying all the right things now, which is like, I could think of a lot more important things that should be talked about in this. I never wanted to be on this. I never this. But then Forbes released the family invited them to their mansions and CPA offices. And the Jenners provided documents showing Kylie's company's annual revenue. Like, so they were dying to get on that list.
Yeah, right. Now, like, I know personally, I just became a thousandaire recently. No big deal. And and I give tens of dollars away all the time.
There you go. Perfect.
Let's do some TV reviews. I just got done with season 1 and could be the only season. I hope it isn't, because it was a really good show. It's called The Great, and it's on Hulu, and it's about Catherine the Great, and starring, do you say Ellie Fanning or Elle Fanning? Dakota Fanning's sister. Ella?
I think it's Elle. I don't know that.
Elle?
Ellie Fanning.
She's fantastic. She's only like 21 years old, and she's she's beautiful, and she's a really good actress, and she's funny. She's got comedy chops, and it's a really funny show. It's like it's a what do you call it? A dramedy? It's one of those.
Yeah, I saw the first episode. It is funny. That guy's really funny.
Yeah, he's great.
But yeah, I didn't stick with it. All right, so I need your help and maybe the listeners' help. I am pretty far along in season 1 of Mad Men. I finally pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm not that into it. Like, I'm waiting for the big story moves. It's very, very character, and I get it. But, maybe I'm a little close to it. My dad worked on 59th and 5th for the cosmetics industry. He would be constantly out with Mad Men. They had a table at Elaine's. They'd go to the 21. They'd go to all the places. I remember all the places that Mad Men mentions. I would go to the sexist thing and the drinking and the smoking. I mean, it is almost like an SNL sketch. I'm waiting to one of them to like light up 5 cigarettes at one time and put them in their mouth.
No, you think you're close to it. It's set in Tarrytown. It's either Tarrytown or Austin. There's some argument about which town it is. Is Austin, which is the next town over from me. So same train to the city every day that they shot. His favorite restaurant in New York City was Ratazzi's.
Yeah.
My father was such a regular at Rattazzi's. He bought Dick Rattazzi's house in Florida after he died from his wife. And my mom was sexually harassed. She worked in a secretary pool at an ad agency. And literally, she tells us that the women used to argue about who had to go in for certain guys to take notation because they would have their dicks out and they would masturbate while the secretaries were taking notes. And it was not something that you could address.
Well, that's why he can't take his own notes. His dick's in his hand.
Right. Oh, I just realized I walked away from the microphone that entire time.
But you carried your laptop?
I carried my laptop, and I thought because I was talking into the microphone. Wait, let's redo that.
No. They're gonna have, maybe it'll be crappier audio. Dude, leave this in. They're gonna have your audio from your headset in your computer.
Oh, I just made a cup of coffee, everybody. Sorry about that. It's 3 in
worries.
the afternoon. I'm hitting the fucking wall.
So listen, I imagine, I think I can guess what people are gonna say, which is, stay with it. There's going to be big moves, but right now the moves are isolated. Like, it's very episodic. It's not serial, meaning it's not a story that's going to be, this is what season 2 is about. Like, finally, like one of the episodes I watched, the rival agency tries to steal away Don Draper, right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, here we go. And that was all resolved by the end of that episode. You know what I mean? And so I have found out, I don't want to spoil it for other people. I have found out, like, you know, his personal history, which is very interesting. And so they are building things, but man, I am not hooked yet.
Well, part of it really is, so much of that show is owed to Jon Hamm's charisma. And my wife, I remember when I was in San Francisco working a club, wife came up with me, and I go to my show. She stays in the hotel room. I come home at like whatever, midnight. And I walk in the door, and they were showing Mad Men. She was sitting on the bed with her pants around her ankles. I'm not saying she was masturbating, but like, she literally was jaw dropped watching Jon Hamm and the show is also shot in a way that is so different than any show that had been filmed up until that time. It just had a very unique aesthetic to it. And that was it. She was all in on Jon Hamm.
I've been very patient over the last 30 seconds. How, in your mind, was Erin not masturbating when you walked in?
Maybe she was masturbating.
Jesus Christ. This isn't a court of law. She had her pants down. Now, listen, I can't say she was masturbating.
But wait, she didn't have any lotion or a bath towel on her belly. Isn't that the only way you can masturbate?
Now listen.
She wasn't crying. That's not masturbating.
I walked in. A guy was on top of my wife undulating. Now, I'm not saying Erin was cheating.
No, I remember I came home and we always shake hands, and she gave me a nice wet handshake. And I remember thinking,
she's just in a chair, pants around her ankles, playing air bass, and Mad Men happens to be on, which she has told me was blowing her mind, you know, the charisma, the raw sexual power of Jon Hamm. And I guess it all coincidentally happened at the same time while I was out of the room.
and I remember she was giving herself a neck massage with one of those, those neck massagers.
The giant Hitachi vibrator that happened to fall in her lap. Oh my God.
Did I ever tell you about the story of Jon Hamm?
I was going to say she should have come to the comedy club with you. There's a very good chance of running into Jon Hamm. He
hangs out at the comedy
nerd,
club.
yeah.
So shortly after this, I'm at a party. Sarah Silverman has this annual party with a lot of big celebrities come to it. And so I'm standing there with Erin and her friend, and all of a sudden Jon Hamm walks in, and she is not somebody that's starstruck. She used to work for Julia Roberts, and she grew up in New York City, and she's been around celebrities, not starstruck, and she freezes. And I'm like, what the fuck, Erin? So we're standing there, and Jon Hamm starts walking towards us, walks up to me, and gives me a giant hug. And he goes, Greg. And I got my head over his shoulder looking at her like, what the fuck's going on? And
Put
I
your
go,
pants back on.
I
He's right here.
right. Erin immediately gets on her back, legs in the air. And I said to him, I go, I'm sorry, do I know you? And he's
Ugh.
like, Jon Hamm from the Improv 10 years ago. Remember me, you and Julie Grossberg used to hang out all the time. We used to go to swingers. And I was like, that's you? You're the same Jon as that Jon? Like, I have
Wow.
such bad facial recognition. It's a real problem in my life that
Wow.
I did not know that these two different Jons were the same Jon.
Huh.
And we immediately reconnected, and he came on the podcast a bunch of times, and we've hung out. We've hung out since then.
I've worked with him a lot, and he loves, obviously he loves comedy. He does comedy any chance he gets.
Yeah.
Super nice, and I'm surprised I didn't meet him back when you're talking about, because I was a complete comedy nerd. You know, I was at Largo every single Monday night. Largo was this club where the alternative scene was kind of born in Los Angeles. And it was Bob and Dave and you, Greg, and just and even road comics would
Zach.
do their better stuff there. And it was everyone was there. And so and I would be alone very often in there standing at the bar, and that's how I think he would go all the time. And I remember him talking about that.
Yeah.
But we were probably standing next to each other like two complete nerds, getting our comedy fix that week.
Was my wife there? Did you notice?
She was in the bathroom a long time, not hovering, but spraying.
With the door cracked so she could look at his profile while she finger blasted herself in the ladies' room.
Oh my God.
Any reviews? Any reviews this week, Mike? Recommendations?
Well, just my mediocre one of Mad Men. I'm trying to think what else I watched.
I finished we've talked about Jordan, but I finished it, and holy shit. I mean, what a story. What a great documentary. Those 30 for 30s are unbelievable.
So speaking of that, I did watch episode 1 of the new 30 for 30 on the heels of Jordan, which is the Lance Armstrong one.
Oh, I heard that's amazing.
I have to say I really enjoyed it because they even gave voice to it. And I love when documentaries do that. They gave one of the guys being interviewed is like, listen, I wasn't really going to do this because I know Lance is involved, and I thought this was going to be kind of some spin out of the Lance camp. And so, someone even gives it that voice. So when you're watching it, he's interviewed a lot. I'm like, all right, is this going to be his narrative, of what happened? But sure enough, I don't want to give it's not giving anything away. It's part 1, but it's like, there's a lot of people on there calling him, and, he's an asshole. Yeah. And, and I had always heard that, he's a very Texas strong-headed guy, and he kind of didn't give a shit. But what's very interesting to me is, people should see it. But basically it was, and this could be his spin, and I've fallen prey to it, but all the other bikers were saying the same thing. As good as he was, because the question I was initially going to bring up 10 seconds ago was, I wonder how well he would have done without performance-enhancing drugs, because he was sort of Superman. They show him at 15, barely having gotten into triathlons, beating everybody. And by the way, his mom and he had to forge or make a false birth certificate to get him in because 15-year-olds couldn't compete. So at 15, he was beating guys who were, some of them, professionals in one of the, either biking, running, or swimming. So anyway, it starts that way, but then it gets to a point where it goes, they interview other cyclists and stuff where they're like, then it comes time you join the circuit in Europe, and you have to make a decision. Will you always be a nobody because you're not going to take drugs? Or are you going to take the drugs and give yourself a fighting chance to at least place in one of these races?
Right.
And they show the Italian team was the most organized in taking the performance-enhancing drugs, and they were untouchable for a 2-year period, and everyone had to catch up to them in terms of drug use.
Yeah, right.
It was really interesting.
It was crazy. I remember that other documentary they did about him, and they were showing, the drug use, but then also they literally were hiding small motors in some of the bicycles. And they showed this guy had an accident, fell off his bike, bike was lying on its side, back wheel was still spinning. I mean, it's who's the best cheater. But I don't know how you feel about, drugs and performance enhancing drugs, but let them take the fucking drugs. I mean, so many of them are not bad for you. And you can't suddenly say you can't be the best athlete using whatever technology is available. I mean, like exercise, like Babe Ruth never did a fucking sit up in his life. Right. And then at a certain point, athletes went, hey, we should probably exercise. And they got way better. Should we ban that?
Well, we take some people like you, and probably me, but I deny it, are so clinically ADD, they really, really should be on the drugs. You can't, if you're an ADD athlete, you can't take those drugs. You can't you can't take Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can't take cocaine pills, which is what they are, or Adderall. Well, I bet the documentary will get into it, and I'm sure many of our listeners know far more than we do, but I wonder if there was a sweet little period there where the playing field was actually level because they were all on drugs.
Right.
And Lance rose to the top because his God-given abilities were greater than the other guys. And then there's drugs, which is the top layer on all of their God-given abilities. I don't know what I'm talking about. But by the way, if you do watch it, like I guess part 2 is going to air tonight, I guess, Sunday night. And then you're jonesing, like you want more, you want to watch something else. I can't recommend more highly the documentary Icarus, which I believe is still on Netflix.
Yeah.
And Icarus, the premise of Icarus is a amateur but a very good cyclist out here in Malibu, worshipped Lance Armstrong and was crestfallen and absolutely so devastated when he was caught not only cheating and taking drugs, but all the times he lied to his fans and lied to everybody about it. And then this guy wanted to see, do drugs really make that big a difference? And that's the start of the documentary. He then he goes, I want to find a way, like Lance did, to cheat and for these drugs not to be detected. And I'm going to enter these races. And all I'll tell you is, it's unbelievable where this one-part documentary ends up. It won the Academy Award for Best Documentary. And not only that, it won it in the year, I think it beat like RBG. Like it was crazy what it beat, I think, that year.
So he raced without telling anybody that he was on the drugs.
Exactly.
Right. But I did that with my wife recently with Viagra. Have you ever popped a Viagra and then not told your lover that you did it?
I also think that's against the law. I'm not on Viagra and I have 3 condoms on, baby. Don't worry about a thing.
She's like, why are you still going? I scheduled a meeting with some friends in 5 minutes. I'm not used to this marathon session you're pulling on me here.
The first time you ever took Viagra, did you, it's a weird question, did you have sex or did you masturbate?
Had sex.
Not me. I was like at some doctor or whatever, and he's like, how you doing? And he was like kind of a funny doctor, and he's like, all right, that's a checkup. How's everything else? How's health? How's your sex life? Oh, this is, I'm married at the time. He was like, all right, I have a sample. Do you want a sample of Viagra? Like, and I was like, yeah, I'll take a sample of Viagra.
You're missing a step here. You're missing a step.
What?
Did he ask you, were you having erectile dysfunction, or did he just suddenly offer you Viagra?
No. No. I did not bring up an issue that I had a problem with it. That's not why I was there. It was an annual. It was like a physical.
And then out of the blue, he just offers you Viagra.
No, it was kind of like he brought it up, like, because if you do, I have, and I had not brought it up. And I'm like, oh, I'll take one. And then he was like, well, is there something we need to talk about? And I'm like, no, but I mean, I write jokes about Viagra all day, every day now, because I'm in late night TV, and I was very interested. But when I took it home, I was like, I have no idea. First of all, it's recommended you don't take it if you don't have a problem. So now I'm a little afraid of it. Keep in mind, it wasn't nearly as common. It was pretty new. I don't know what year this was, but the early 2000s. And And so anyway, I took it and then was like waited 40 minutes and then masturbated. That's what I did the first time I ever took it.
And how
And
was that?
it was crazy. It was
Yeah.
like it was but like at that time there was still all these rumors that like, well, you'll just be hard all the time. You're going to be hard after you ejaculate. You're going to maintain an erection, and that's not true at all.
Right.
And I didn't take the whole thing, thank God. But I really flushed. My chest was crazy red. My face was red. I got pretty scared. Like
Yeah, I took it twice, and my head was so spinning and dizzy. I felt so bad afterwards, and I never took it again.
and it triggered at that time I was getting migraines in my life, and it triggered a migraine
Really?
afterwards. But
Wow.
that's in the top 3 side effects, is a very painful headache.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know that it affects your vision. You can't, all of a sudden you lose some colors. Do you know a pilot is not allowed to take Viagra within 24 hours of flying?
No shit.
That's a
I could
law.
see it affecting your vision though, because if you have a raging hard on like that, you have to be able to see less well if you're going to have sex with somebody. If you're a single guy in a bar and you take a Viagra, you want your sight to get worse.
Yeah. And we can make a million jokes why pilots can't have an erection while they're flying, but it's the first color to go out is like blue or whatever, but all of a sudden the pilot's vision is being affected. That's the reason.
Yeah, right. All right, let's go to international, Mike.
You mean this section? Hold on, I'm not there yet. Where is it? There it is. Got it.
They always bury it. They always bury it.
Yeah.
This is a great story coming out of our good friends over in Israel. It turns out back in the Iron Age, they found a shrine, a limestone altar that showed they were burning cannabis plants in a ritual ceremony. So the first, if you're wondering who were the first people to smoke pot, they may not be the first, but this is the furthest back that we've been able to document it. And they say that there was a second altar where they burned the frankincense. Always wondered what happened with the frankincense. They had frankincense and not myrrh. Fuck myrrh. They had weed. That's
Wow.
what maybe they edited that out in the Old Testament or the New Testament. Maybe it was gold, frankincense, and Acapulco gold.
How different. They're all walking around with sandals. No one really has jobs.
Right. And you
Yeah.
wonder how did the Jews get lost in the desert for 40 days? They were baked. They were looking for a 7-Eleven to get
Right.
some yoo-hoos.
Yeah. Dudes, I am so hungry. You know what? Fuck it. Don't let that bread rise. I'll take it now. I'll just take it now. Give it to me.
And let's all share this glass of wine. Keep passing it around. Don't drink it all.
Yeah. And it probably explains all their shitty food. What do you got? What do you got? Some salt water on a lamb shank? Yeah, give it. Yeah, fine. What? It's tears? Whatever. Give it. I'm fucking starving, bros.
They made a bong out of a menorah. 7 guys can hit it at the same time.
Are you sure you saw him walk on water? I fucking swear to God, dudes. I swear to God, the fucker just walked right across the lake.
All right, so Joseph, walk me through this again. 7 cows walk out of the river? Were they singing? What color were they?
Guys, I taught you how to fish last week. What? Are you fucking paying attention? I have to keep giving you fish? All right, we're going to do it
You're
again, all
supposed to
right?
feed yourself for life.
Yeah, here we go again, all right? You go around 6, through the loop, back up. Fucking Jews, what are you guys, come on.
No wonder they've been fighting over the West Bank the whole time. It's like Sonoma up there. It's where all the weed is grown.
Yeah. By the way, it's so funny to just call it the Bronze Age. Like, that's it. That's what you're going to be known for. Like,
That was the Iron Age.
Iron Age, I mean, right. But it makes me think of like, that's how the time was defined.
Yep.
Well, did anything else go? Not much, really. No, really, not much.
No, you think about the technological advances since the go back to the 30s, but really the 50s. in terms of like how often we have the advent of a crazy new technology. They would go 1,000 years and it was like, oh, iron now.
Yeah. They
That
had a
was it.
wheel. Yeah, they had a wheel and had no idea what the fuck to do with it for,
Yeah,
for
right.
about 100 years.
Yeah, they didn't have any metal for an axle. It was just a wheel.
Yeah. Huh, looks good. Hey, remember
Also,
that wheel? Yeah.
also in international news, Switzerland. You know Switzerland, Mike. Kind of a
Oh, I've been there.
wealthy nation. I think one of the wealthiest nations in the world.
It's gorgeous.
But they have such food shortages that now they have lines that stretch for longer than a mile of people waiting to get, they say, parcels of food worth about $25. And you got to
That's
imagine
amazing.
that, like, Jesus Christ, how long have we been waiting online? Yeah, let me check my $10,000 Soku watch. Over an hour, and this thing is right on the money.
I think they are per capita, one of the wealthiest nations. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, stop. Hey, how about stop sending your Toblerone bars to duty free?
Right.
Everyone's eating your shit in duty free. Oh, I guess not anymore. Yeah, why are you still sending them?
Right. It was like the Irish when the English fucking occupied us and they took all of our crops and sent them out of the country and we died. A million people died.
So what is causing the Swiss to have all these knives with nothing to cut? But what is the cause?
I think it's a lot of immigration. They have a lot of immigrants.
That explains huge food lines?
Apparently.
That means these immigrants can afford to buy up all the food.
Right.
Doesn't add up to me. Something's going on. I think maybe, is it the first country hit by like a supply chain because of the virus, maybe?
Let me see. What does this article say? A lot of underpaid workers. I guess it's a real have and have not kind of a city. And if you don't have, you don't fucking have. It's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to science, Mike.
Here's your Swiss cheese. Where? Oh, it's just the holes today. It's just the holes. Sorry. It's still $7 though for the app. Yeah.
Right.
All right, where are we going? Where are we going?
You want some Swiss Miss? You mean the only black woman in Switzerland? Yeah, I'll have some of that. Let's get some science.
Oh, hold on. Oh, the science section is right here. That one was easy.
As a big day today, why don't you tell us about what's going on in space, Mike?
Oh, man. Well, there's two dudes in space. That's what's going on in space, and they just got there.
Is it Larry Hagman and the other guy?
It's just as white as that sounds. Literally, their names are Bob and Doug.
Like Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Their launch, yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Their launch was canceled earlier this week because of the weather. But I think they were like, they saw what was going on in this country. Like, just get us on the next, literally get us on the next shuttle out of here. We got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
So they took off like, we're recording this on Saturday. They just took off a little while ago, and it was pretty impressive. But I really was worried during their launch, because we grew up and we saw the shuttle Challenger blow up in the sky after everybody was applauding and celebrating the successful launch. And
was this the one with the teacher on it?
Yes. And so we have that ingrained on us. And then those lives were really celebrated, and, and the country kind of mourned them. And I'm like, this is not the time to shift focus to Bob and Doug, who might die today.
Yeah, right.
who have taken on an incredible challenge that they know has a high risk of failure.
Yeah.
And a relatively high risk of failure. So anyway, I was praying that because, a bunch of people in Washington and in various positions around the country would love nothing more than a distracting news story right now. In fact, they treated the launch as that. Trump went down to the launch, and that's been kind of the lead story today. It'll revert back to the story of all this unrest tonight. But anyway, also watching it, I realized how little I know about technology and these advances in science. Like, if you had told me, like this, all right, so they took off, and within minutes, they go, by the way, I think even under 2 minutes, they were like, okay, if something were to go wrong now, they have this system where they can launch and shoot away from the rocket. Like if there was a problem with the rocket, and their capsule would then just fall on Ireland. I'm like, they've been up there a minute. Are they? They're already over Ireland. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, and the speed makes no sense to me. All right, so the NASA. First of all,
But this is like the first. This is the first time that humans have gone into space since that accident, right?
no. We went back. I think we went back up, but I think it's since 2010 maybe, or something
Okay.
like that. Because we had
Yeah,
other
and it's
shuttles.
also, and it's the first one that's not NASA. It's private. This is Tesla. Tesla's sending the rocket up.
with NASA.
Right. But
People are going to hate us because people really know a lot about this, and I should know more, especially. But it just happened, and I was so distracted by everything else.
now, since it's Tesla sending it up, is there a Feel the Burn bumper sticker on the back of the rocket ship?
I think this rocket ship compensated for all the fuel that Tesla has saved, because it's crazy, including liquid oxygen and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. And it's got one of those really nice television set consoles, so you can see if any other rocket ships are coming up behind you.
Within a minute, they're like, okay, now they're supersonic, which means they've broken the sound barrier. Which, if you ask me what's the speed of sound, no idea.
Right.
It turns out it's like 775 miles an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
So they broke it, and then they're going up 250 miles above the Earth to the space station. And they talked about, I thought about us and how vague and unspecific we are in our lives about everything, and how little precision there is. So when the countdown was happening, a reporter goes, oh, and people have asked, good question, people have asked why this has to be so precise, and they have to go off on the second that is planned on. And they talked about it's because they have calculated the rotation and the orbit and where the space station is. And they are to meet up, and they're going to join the space station and dock. And if they are 3 seconds late off the takeoff, they will miss it by being too wide.
Wow.
And by the way, they are not even docking till tomorrow night. They are going around the Earth 11 times, which is described like a spiral, which eventually gets wider to dock with them. So this isn't like, oh, they just docked now. It's even way more precise than that. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's this really funny show with the guy from House on it on HBO about it's basically like a cruise ship that goes into space.
That.
And they get out of their orbit, and so they're like, we're gonna be up here for another 10 years or something. It's hilarious.
And then also the speed of light, I looked up. The speed of light is quite faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
The speed of light, guess how many miles per hour the speed of light is? Yeah, by the way, give or take 100 million. Go ahead.
100 million?
670 million miles per hour.
Wow.
Now, I think I have that right, because it's 186,000 miles per second.
Shit.
Yeah. And but they're dealing with these calculations of things, you know.
And then they talk about how a star is, 3,000 light years away, and somehow we detect it. That kind of shit blows my mind.
Well, if you were to ask me to get out a pen and paper, first of all, just don't. But like, in other words, to calculate, okay, so it's 670, by the way, it's closer to 671 million miles per hour. And now you're saying at that rate, it takes 3 years to get somewhere. And you're like, how far is that? Is there something that measures how far that is?
Yeah, right.
I guess it's light years. Like they can't put a distance on it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because the distance would be incomprehensible. It would be some number that's too long to write on how many miles it is. Anyway, but I do think about, I don't know if you've ever had this fantasy. I've had a fantasy my whole life. It's weird to say fantasy, but I've had this thought. People always say they're abducted by aliens, and they ask them questions, and of course they probe them and all that stuff. But I've always thought the fight would just be like, you got the wrong guy. Like if you're asking me questions about Earth, or about science or about how advanced we are. Like, hey, how about tell us about that space launch? You got
Right.
me.
Right.
And my joke used to be, I can't even tell you how the toaster works. But it's like, it's more than that. Honestly, if they had me to write stuff down, I'm like, I honestly couldn't even tell them how a pen works. I don't know
Right.
how the ink stays in a pen.
Right.
I really don't. I
I
don't know
know.
why it's not shooting all over the place and
There is
spilling
this.
out.
There's this book that I read. I shouldn't say read. I listened to it, which is why I'm looking it up on my phone right now. And it was something like everything, a short history of nearly everything by Bill Bryson. And
Oh, yeah, Bill Bryson's great.
that shit. There's so much that he tackles every aspect of science, physics, astrophysics, biology, and each one of them is something that you just have to. I used to have to pause it. I listened going to sleep. I used to have to pause it and sit in the dark for like 3 minutes to try to process shit like that, like distances that he talks about.
No, but
Good
everything.
book.
Like,
Highly
like
recommend it.
like the wall behind you is green now. Green. I mean, green. Whatever. It sounds like I'm stoned. We've named it green, but it's a frequency. I'm looking at a frequency that light is, I don't even know the right terms, coming into the vortex of my eye, and it reads as green. But these aliens would have kicked my ass off this ship just trying to explain the color green.
Right.
They'd be like, this guy's useless. Get him back down to the cornfield where we found him. Totally useless. And by the way, he's successful. Like he has offspring, that guy.
And the difference between your intelligence and one of those people that was in a pool in the Ozarks is fucking razor thin. Compared to them, you're no different than they are.
I don't know. I think they'd be more honest. Like, it's amazing, dude. It's fucking green. What do you mean it's green? Like, he would just stick to his guns on green. He wouldn't get lost in some attempt at an explanation like me.
Right. What are you, gay? It's fucking green.
What do you fags want from me in this shit? Like, they'd be like, we got an interesting one here.
Well, they do have their finger up his ass. It's not a quantum jump.
He keeps calling us stupid. I think we should keep him, but the Gibbons guy, get him. He's totally useless. He keeps saying, I don't know. Get him out of here.
We need the guys that are already drunk because they can sort of handle the breadth of these questions.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some etiquette. Should we do some etiquette? As you know, people write into the newspaper because they have quandaries, ethical or social etiquette quandaries. This one comes from the Something Gazette. My husband and I took our family to a resort in Hawaii. After leaving the pool one afternoon, I realized I had left my hat on a chaise. She writes chaise. Only somebody that would write to an etiquette column would say something like chaise. So I dumped my stuff in my hotel room and trekked back to the pool. The attendant had put my hat and towel in a hut. I thanked him. He replied, "Thank you doesn't pay the bills, ma'am." I shrugged to show him I had nothing but my room key. When I told my husband later, he said I should go back with a $5 tip. My daughter-in-law thought I should report him for rudeness, and the other said, let it go. That's what I did, deciding that the $100 per room resort fee covered this. Your thoughts?
That's a long way to go to justify stiffing the guy.
Yeah, right.
That's my take. Like, and why involve us? Why waste all of our time?
Yeah, I think a $5 tip is a lot less energy than fucking opening your laptop, writing a letter, sending it in, and then checking that newspaper day after day to see whether or not this person has told me how to tip.
Yeah, I mean, but if I'm putting myself in the woman's shoes, and this is the first time I've heard this, I would not have taken it so well if he said that. Like, it's so easy to be gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think when you go to a resort, you're paying for the right to be a douchebag for the week. You're paying to have people, usually natives, usually the native population. You want them to be subservient so you can feel like a real colonialist. And so when they start rubbing back against what they're paying, it's like you want that ugly part of you to go, now, if you didn't work at this resort, how much would you be getting paid to pick fucking crops? Pick up the fucking towel.
Well, now that you put it that way, that's very convincing.
I'm
You
just
got
saying,
me.
people that go to resorts are douchebags.
Well, listen, there's a lot of resorts. She didn't mention this where you're kind of instructed not to tip. It's all inclusive, blah, 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 blah. But I guess now I'm putting myself in the guy's position. I would divorce her. No, I'm kidding. I'm putting myself not in the husband's position. I'm putting myself in the pool boy's position. At that point, he's not getting a tip. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's not trying to save it anymore. And I remember, listen, I delivered chicken wings in Boston when I was in college.
That's right.
783 Bird, I think it was. Wing it.
it.
And it was like we would come back and we would scream at like the dispatcher guy, like, will you tell him that the way we make our money is tips, anyone that orders? And MIT was famously, like we would, all the drivers, you'd roll your eyes if you had to go to MIT. I would honestly, I would deliver like a delivery of wings, let's say it was $9.86, making me stand there as he's counting the pennies to $9.86.
Wow.
I know, it was crazy. And
I was trained. I was looking for a job, and my roommate at the time was on the football team, and he was a bouncer at one of those places where they had a bar and a restaurant. And so they trained me for like 3 days of how to be, no, it was like 5 days of how to be a waiter. I had to trail the guy, which means you have to like walk 2 steps behind a real waiter.
Yeah.
Watch them do it, and you don't get any of the fucking tips. You just follow them around the whole time. They
Right.
do this for like 5 days. And then finally they like give me my own tray, and they're like, all right, go get them. So I go out, and these 2 guys order like fucking 7 beers, a bunch of shots. I'm delivering, we're joking around. And then I give them the bill, and they gave me like a 50-cent tip, and I fucking put the tray down, and I walked out, and I was done. Yeah, that was it. That was it.
I don't know if this is in their defense, but the MIT people I was describing were foreign born for sure, mostly Asian students who there was a huge language barrier. So in trying to bring up even the concept of a tip, it was useless.
Yeah.
And my Subaru stunk like chicken wings, like buffalo sauce. It wasn't the best job, but a lot of people tipped you well because they were baked.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were so happy to get their food.
Do we have sports this week?
Let me check. Hold on. Nope. No, hold on.
Come on,
There's not much. I didn't have time to go into it. I did look at all the sports and their plans to maybe come back. So the NFL is going to be September 10th. That was where it was scheduled to be, so they haven't moved it. The NBA is discussing maybe a playoffs at Disney World. I really should have more about that, but I only read one mention of that.
Yeah.
And the NHL is planning.
Yeah, they're coming back June 15th, I think.
Ooh, okay, you know more than I. What I read today, although I did read, there's still tons of questions with every one of these announcements, and nothing like Major League Baseball is still trying to figure it out. There are proposals, but no one's taking it as a plan yet. And the NHL is proposing a 2014 playoff in July.
2014?
Yep. Well, it's always so much anyway. I don't know. I stopped following hockey. How many divisions? What would 4 teams in each division make it anyway? So what was it, 16?
The hockey playoffs take up literally 1/3 of the season. They go on forever.
Well, it's the second season. That's what people call it.
Right,
You
right.
barely have to try during the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that like my son is such a huge soccer fan that he'll watch anything. They have like Germany has started playing games again last week, and he'll wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to watch 2 German teams I've never heard of.
Right.
And my son will know the names of almost every player on the team. He knows more about soccer.
Wow.
I would put him against anybody in terms of knowledge of soccer. He knows what club they trained at coming up, where they played at before, what national team they play on, what their stats are. And I mean, for like the German league, the British league, the British league or the Premier League,
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing. It's incredible. I don't know where he fucking learns all this.
Well, he's an avid fan, man. He's watching it.
All right, let's get to some listener mail. This is a couple here.
Wait, do we do business?
I don't have any business. Do you have business?
Hold on, let me see if I do. Well, it must be confusing wherever our listeners are, because they'll announce, for instance, so Los Angeles announced restaurants can reopen. So it's restaurants, it's barbershops. What else did they announce? Bars cannot. And you also can't be in the bar area of a restaurant. And the restaurants can be at 60% capacity, although they're trying to encourage al fresco, they're trying to encourage dining outdoors, which will increase capacity, I guess. But it's all very confusing. And they have to meet a lot of requirements before they're allowed to open. But I just drove down Main Street in Santa Monica, and there are people eating outside of restaurants. I don't know if you've seen this yet.
They're called homeless people.
There's also that.
No, I mean, that's what it's going to be. You're going to be sitting at your table, and the guy's going to be like, you going to finish that?
Yeah. But one thing I noticed, and I mentioned it to you a little bit before the podcast started, was so Garcetti. It's funny I call him Garcia because he loves to flex how much, that he can speak Spanish. But he, like so many politicians, there's this thing now, when they get to Latino or a Spanish word, they really put on the flair of the accent. And I'm beginning to think it's racist.
Right.
Because they'll just go along and of course, listen, even Garcetti was talking about the riots in Los Angeles and was like, listen, and again, this isn't just white people who should be concerned, and it isn't just a black issue, and it's not a Latino issue. And it's like, slow it down.
Yeah, right.
And it's also like,
if you're going to do it that way, then go, and it's not just a motherfucking black issue.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, where does it stop? But it's also like, people have been doing it it's like, we don't say Britain issue. And it's not like they're like, it's French, German, Latino, Mexican. It's what's going on there. They're not like, it's France, they're not throwing on the accent.
Yeah. This week in Guatemala. They always do Guatemala.
No, I know. And people in LA, especially white people, I've noticed, really do. They'll be ordering in a restaurant, I think I'll have a Coke. And I think, and I'm going to have the chicken. And can you bring some tomatillo sauce? Make sure the tomatillo sauce. And it's these selective words that are just.
Can I get an iced tea? And I'll also have pork fried rice.
Right. What? I mean, I know pork fried rice isn't a Chinese word, but it's like, where does it stop though? I mean, we don't completely turn it on with French words in a French restaurant.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, I'll have some mustard and schnitzel. And also, but it's an LA thing. So it's like, I don't know how far you go. Are you like, I took the 10 and I got off a Sepulveda, which is Sepulveda, which is what normal people call it. Data Cienega, to la Playa. And then I went, I banged a hard right down to San Bernardino. Because I was going to visit my mom in Costa Mesa.
And my mom is Jewish.
Where did you grow up? Well, I mean, I grew up in Carlsberg, but it was right on the border of Escondido.
That's always the greatest argument, too, for all these people that go we got to get all these fucking Mexicans out of San Bernardino. Maybe they should get on La Cienega. Yeah. Because they don't belong here.
There's a reporter. He's so annoying for NPR. Well, no, he's for KCRW. And he's the LA Times Orange County correspondent. And he's always like, hola. That's how he says hello. And then every Spanish word he hits so hard, while the rest of the words are just middle of the road. The guy could be from Chicago.
Right.
It's so annoying. All
right. It's a good bit, though.
It's a good bit. And that's I
think honestly, Mike Gibbons only does stand-up comedy maybe twice a year. He'll do the St. Patrick's Day show at the Improv. And then sometimes you do a benefit here and there.
Patrick's Day show. God.
And always fucking kills, much to the chagrin of the other comedians that are out there slugging it out night after night for years. And he comes in and just fucking destroys.
Well, the bar is very, very lowered for me. You make sure everyone knows exactly what you just said. I don't do it. So you make it so much easier.
But anyway, that's a bit, you should work on that. That's a good bit, I think.
Yeah, I should organize my thoughts. So that'll never happen. All right, I have a Dear Amy. Ask Amy.
Oh, we love Ask Amy.
Since we
This
did
is advice.
This is advice. Okay, this is a real one. It's Ask Amy. I got it out of the Chicago Tribune. Since we have some viewer mail, right? It's starting to trickle in.
I'm going to read it right after you do this.
Okay, Dear Amy, this week I discovered that my intelligent, hardworking, responsible 24-year-old daughter who lives with me is a gun owner! Exclamation point.
Jesus.
And it's not a normal gun either. It's a 40 caliber semi-automatic, and she has hollow point bullets. Amy, this is the kind of weapon a criminal would possess! Exclamation point. She says it's for emergencies. I've given her 3 choices. She can either give her weapon to me, sell it, or move out in 3 weeks. I love my daughter and would be so sad for her to move into a place that she would hardly be able to afford. But now I have to lock my bedroom door at night because I don't know what she's going to do. She says I don't trust her. Yeah. And is barely speaking to me. How can I convince her to stop endangering us? Signed, Dumbfounded Father. Dear dumb father, buy a bigger gun. That would be my advice.
It's your house is officially engaged in an arms race right now.
That's my only solution.
And also buy a bigger door, because if she's got hollow point bullets and you're locking your door, that buys you about 4 to 5 seconds.
I also think you're not sharing everything. Like, okay, it's one thing for your daughter to have a gun and whatever bullet she has on. It's another thing how that gets to you locking your bedroom door at night. What was something? That wasn't a nonstop flight to locking your door. There was a stop in between there somewhere.
Yeah, Daddy. Yeah. There was some friendly hand. Dad had some friendly hands at a certain point in her life.
What you're saying, I think the only thing you could be saying is that you are afraid she's going to shoot you while you're sleeping. I mean, is there anything else that you're saying there?
I also love that she says she got it for emergencies. What's the emergency? Are there drug cartels showing up in the middle of the night?
I cut out one sentence saying the person said there had only been 2 home break-ins in their entire neighborhood in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's added to the context of this. Oh my God, it's so crazy.
I think she's part of a group. She's part of a group she's not telling them about. That's not a normal gun. I'm all for you. Look, if you want to have a gun in your house for protection and you're safe with it, I'm all for it. But if you got a gun like that, you've got your fan. It's like when you're a fucking jackass and you take me out on a motorboat sometimes, and I'm fucking miserable. And I realize the only reason anybody drives a motorboat is because they're fantasizing about like, oh, I'm going to discover a new land, or I'm in a race, or some stupid shit that I'm not into. And it's the same thing with those kinds of guns. You're fantasizing that you are in a cartel, or that you're going to assassinate some third world dictator. You got some crazy fucking thought in your head.
Nah, you're so wrong. First of all, I drive my boat just so I can shoot my guns and not be around people. That's how I fish. But
and eventually I'm going to shoot my father.
Also, this dad, she says I don't trust her. Maybe it's because your bedroom door's locked, and when she knocks on it to say goodnight, you're opening it a crack.
With a chain across it.
Telling her, I'll hug you, but hands up. Hands where I can see them. Hands where I can see them before I hug goodnight. What a lunatic.
Oh, my God. All right, let's do a little bit of listener mail.
Ooh, that doesn't sound like newspaper. You're not fooling me.
All right, but it's legal paper.
All right, fine.
This one comes from Joanne. I can't remember if I read this one last week. If I did, I don't give a fuck. I'm reading this one again. It says, I seem to have a crush on these guys.
You're recycling the news again.
Did I read that one last week?
Of course. Well,
I'm going to read it every single week.
That sentiment certainly hasn't happened twice. So that's how I know you're repeating it.
I don't know. I think that you and I are sexy to a certain type of woman. I'm not sure what type of woman that is. I think that she's been trapped in a marriage for a long time. the kind of marriage where she's Christian, so she won't cheat, but she also is fucking ready. She's so ready for any guy. Low standards. I would say Joanne is about 30 years into a bad one.
She's been married to a Minneapolis police officer. She's newly single.
Yeah, he's got a gun. All right, this one comes from Jim in Seattle. I can't go to church on Sundays now or watch sports. So thanks for giving me something to do besides pretending to enjoy my kids. They're 1 and 3 and not good kids.
And they don't trust me.
The only way you have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old that are not good kids is if you are not a good parent.
I miss the ages. Oh my God, that's hysterical.
1 and 3. Give them a chance. I know they're tough, but
They're racist. They're bullies.
they
How
forgot
did they
my
get this
birthday.
way?
One of them forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. The other one forgot my birthday once.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
That's going on the list of clips.
What did that remind me of? That reminded me of something earlier. I forget what it is.
All right. Well, we're not going to do obituaries this week because it's such a dark week. We thought we would just go straight off to the Sunday comics, everybody.
Oh yeah, newspaper sound.
You love them. You wait for them every week. And this week we got some really good ones. We're going to start off with our old friend Andy Capp.
I haven't seen any of these, for the record. Okay, go ahead.
Andy Capp is, of course, if you don't know the character, because let's be honest, not a lot of you, or I don't know how many of you read the Sunday comics growing up, but they were a big part of my life. And Andy Capp was in every Sunday. I'm 8 years old. I'm learning about other cultures from the paper. Andy Capp is he's a guy from London that wears the little skull cap, and he's a drinker, and he's a gambler, and he's not a good husband, as shown in the following comic strip, which, as an 8-year-old, I was reading in the Sunday paper. It's his wife, and she's standing there, and she screams, I warned you, I'd tell the whole street if you ever laid hands on me again. Well, you're asked for it. She walks outside to the front stoop, and she yells out, me husband knocks me about. She walks inside, and Andy walks out to the stoop and yells, and I'm not making this up, don't believe a word. Don't believe a word she says. She's punch drunk.
That's the joke we would make. What? All right, wait, there's so much to unpack here. First of all, is he beating her because she's Irish? I couldn't follow.
I fucked up the accent. I'm sorry.
Because that makes a lot more sense. I thought it was going to be like, don't believe a word. She's a fucking Irish slut. Oh my God.
I should have rehearsed.
And his accent was quite bizarre. But what?
Yeah. I mean,
this isn't in Viking times. This is not in Viking times.
Yeah.
Aren't there cars? When is this supposed to take place?
It was an early, I believe Andy Capp ran for decades. And I'm guessing
but I mean,
this one was written in the 50s.
But the creator of Andy Capp has placed it in the 50s, you think?
Yeah, it's modern day at the time that he was writing it. So the guy, I can't even read his signature. But yeah, it was 50s.
I mean, if it's any time after 1900, I mean, or any time, it's so insane.
Yeah. I mean,
1900.
Punch drunk doesn't mean he slapped her with an open hand. It means she took concussive blows to the face repeatedly. That's what punch drunk is.
Yeah. She's concussed. She's not in her right mind.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's pretty good. We always love Hagar the Horrible. somebody wrote in and said you're pronouncing it wrong. It's Hagar. No, it's not.
No, it can't be that, can it?
No, it's got to be Hagar.
Hagar is a pronunciation. Our bass player on the Late Late Show, James Corden's band, it's a woman, and her name's Hagar, and she's Israeli. I don't think that's the same as Hagar.
No.
Okay.
All right. So here's another one. Sunday Comics, always big with the ladies. I know if I was a strong feminist, I would be all over the Sunday papers. Hagar is sitting in a bar with another guy. He's got his big orange beard, and he's got his Viking horns.
What does a bar look like?
You just see the bar itself, and he's got a mug, one of those steel mugs.
All right.
And a guy.
But it's during Viking times. It's okay. It's probably a pretty rustic bar. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's got a little rape room in the corner, and his friend is saying to him, "I just told my wife I was leaving her. She said I was being unduly cruel." Hagar says in the punchline to the strip, "Sounds like it's more than she can handle."
Well, he's a good listener. He's oh my God.
It sounds like what he's saying is, I mean, there's two ways to read it. One is, and I hope this is the way it was meant, sounds like more than she can handle means, yeah, she needs to get out of the house. The other way is that she's weak. Sounds like more than she can handle.
I took the very nice view, which is Hagar was taking her side maybe a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think, I don't know.
Read it again.
I just told my wife I was leaving her. She said I was being unduly cruel. Hagar says, sounds like it's more than she can handle.
Yeah. It's also, if you're the writer of this goddamn thing, it is confusing. Like it could be more than she could handle. The fact that what did he tell her?
Sounds like it's more than she can handle.
Yeah, whatever. I'm all confused by it.
All
I
right.
should have it in front of me. But the whole thing was thrown because you told me that there was a rape room in the corner when I know that's patently false because the bars don't allow women.
They have to come in through the side end, the service entrance.
Women weren't served and raped in bars until years later, years and years.
They have to fight for that right. They fought for the right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And they didn't allow. That's why they didn't allow women to wear pants back then. Harder to rape.
Well, yeah, it just took longer for multiple rapes.
You want to bring us through some family circus, Mike? I know it's your favorite.
Oh my God! Well, it's today's family circus, the one in Saturday's LA Times. So you just have to keep in mind, I'm not looking for these. I'm not looking for particularly bad ones. This is just a perfectly random. In the course of this weekend, this is the family circus. So you can look at the little circle right there, and the little boy's coming in from outside. The father's opened the door. He's reading the paper. He's probably not reading fucking Family Circus or he'd hanged himself by now. And the little boy has a skateboard in his hand and he goes, "Our driveway has too many cracks in it. Can we get it repaved?" And that's it. That's it. That's the beginning and the middle and the end to that story. And ship it. That one's done. Are you insane? Well, I mean,
no rewrite necessary. I fucking nailed it.
How about that's what a kid would say? Like,
yeah.
I don't even get it.
Right. Wow.
How about making it into a ramp? Wouldn't that be more of a like a sort of a fanciful imagination on the kid? Wouldn't that be funnier for a funnies?
Right.
He should be sued. These should be in the obituary section because they're sadder than all the fucking dead people listed in there.
And also, how many people died because of it? they kill themselves when they realize that this guy is making a very comfortable living, working upwards of 14 seconds a week.
It's it's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
I can't even break it down. It's like so hard because it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. Daddy, there's cracks in the driveway.
Can we get it repaved?
Can we get it repaved? It's literally he has, maybe he drinks all week. Maybe this guy, what's his name again?
Keen.
Yeah, Bill Keane. Bill Keane's an alcoholic. He gets up and he drinks morning, noon, and night. And then Saturday rolls around and his deadline is at noon. He's still hungover. He's sleeping on the couch because he pissed the bed and his wife kicked him out. And he just walks outside and it's the first thing that gets said. And he writes it down.
And it says by Jeff Keane, you know, it says by Bill Keane up by the title, but I think that's kind of the whole title. And then by Jeff Keane is written. So I think Jeff did this one.
Jeff is his son.
But again, even a child, even a dumb child, would a dumb child even be amused by that?
No.
I don't think so.
No,
It's
I don't
like,
know who this is meant for.
it's so crazy. And
All
then
right.
it's in the funny section. They should be sued.
Well, we close it out the same week every time.
Uh-oh.
The same way every week, I mean. Here it is. Everybody's favorite little vixen. It's Blondie. She is, I honestly, Mike, I look forward to Sunday because just to gaze on her. She's opening the front door and she's got on a slit skirt. It's got a little slit on the side and it's above her knee. She's leaning forward into the door so that her left calf is defined. It almost has a shelf under it, and it flows into her gentle ankle and her small foot. And she looks up with big, droopy, doughy eyes as fucking bozo walks in. Dagwood, who has a briefcase. Like, his job is so important, he has to bring shit home. And he says, boy, do I ever need a pick-me-up. Blondie, without missing a beat, steps in, puts her arms around him, and there's a giant smack written across the top. She gives him a big kiss right on the face. Heart's popping off the smack. He's leaning backwards, drops the fucking briefcase, and then he grabs her by the arm and goes, actually, I was thinking along the lines of a pepperoni pizza.
That must be so disappointing to you.
If there was some way I could get that rifle that girl keeps in the advice column.
With the hollow point bullets?
With the hollow point bullets. Find out where Dagwood works and take him out. I want it to be like Chinatown. I want to shoot him in the back of the head until he falls over on the horn. And I hear the horn going for a long time. And I just walk away to find Blondie to console her.
You know what occurs to me? You know what Blondie is? I know what she is to you. But in my watching Mad Men, she's January Jones.
Yeah.
She's that one, but in Mad Men, the cracks are starting to show. She's not taking it any, you know what I mean? She has this douchebag husband who takes her for granted, yells at her when he shouldn't, comes home, she's dressed to the nines.
Waiting with a martini for him, face made up.
Looks like a Barbie doll, and her outfits are extraordinary. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But she has to start going to therapy because of this mistreatment that you're pointing out.
The 50s is turning to the 60s in Mad Men. That's what the whole series is about. And Blondie, unfortunately, I think was written in the 40s, and there was nothing but a middle management piece of shit who ignores his wife and cares more about food than this hot piece of ass who dolls or whatever. I can't get that into it.
And she's not allowed to complain because he'll be like, oh, you're going to complain? Do you hear Andy Capp's wife down the street? You want some of that in this house?
And first of all, I asked you to marry me. Hager literally abducted her from another town. All right. Well, listen, thank you guys for listening. If you enjoy the show, we compel you.
Sure.
With the power of Christ compels you to go to Apple Podcasts, look us up. If that's not where you download it, look us up there. Comment, give it 5 stars.
Subscribe. Isn't that this whole game?
subscribe. That's the key. Our numbers just keep going up every
You
week.
don't
We
even
wanna
have to
keep it
listen
going.
to us.
Why not? Why not listen? Or
I'm just
if-
saying they don't have to, but they have to because you compelled them to subscribe.
Also, check out Fitzdog Radio every Tuesday. Andy Kindler's coming up. Mike Gibbons jumped in on the Andy
He's
Kindler recording.
so funny. Oh my God.
That goes up not this week, but next week. And that'll do it. Mike, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, just hopefully things are okay over the next week. That's all. Really, what can you say, man? So much happened this last week. It's amazing, but hopefully everything will be all right. Hopefully the president, does some presidential things. I'm not slamming him, but hopefully he doesn't fan the flames. That's all I'll say.
Also, if you want to reach out, give us your thoughts about everything, you can always reach us at fitzdogradio@gmail.com. Also, send us your logos for the show. New one goes up every week, and also your songs.
Do we want to go out on a song?
We'll go out on the song we came in on.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks again for listening, and wrap it up. Wrap up a fish in it.
Fish in it.
Wrap a
Take
fish
it to
in
the
it.
curb.
See you next week.
All right, take it easy.
Read it in the Sunday paper.